the problems we've had for the last few years are not getting prosecuted.
Yeah, he's got a point. Fucking supper despots. Banker idiots. Demon bankers.
The hacking group Anonymous is threatening Donald Trump over his proposal to ban Muslims from coming into the U.S. The warning came in a video the group posted online.
Donald Trump, it has come to our attention that you want to ban all Muslims to enter the United States. This policy is going to have a huge impact. This is what ISIS wants. The more Muslims feel safe, the more ISIS feel that they can recruit them. The more United States appears to be targeting Muslims, not just radical Muslims. You can be sure that ISIS will put that on their social media campaign. Donald Trump, think twice before you speak anything. You have been warned, Mr. Donald Trump. We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. Expect us.
Well, it seems Anonymous made good on its threat.
The origins of Anonymous can be traced back to the early days of the internet in the 1990s when online communities and forums began to emerge. The group's ideology and tactics evolved over time, but at its core, Anonymous has always been a decentralized and leaderless collective of individuals united by a shared belief in freedom of expression and opposition to censorship. The first known use of the term anonymous in relation to online activism occurred in 2003 when a group of users on the image board website 4chan launched a campaign called Project Chanology in response to the Church of Scientology's attempt to remove a video of Tom Cruise from the internet. The campaign involved distributed denial of service attacks, also known as DDoSes, prank calls, and other disruptive tactics, and it marked the beginning of Anonymous's use of online tools to achieve political goals. In the years that followed, Anonymous continued to engage in various forms of digital activism, often targeting organizations and individuals they perceived as oppressive or corrupt. In 2008, the group gained widespread attention for its campaign against the Church of Scientology, which included protests outside Scientology centers around the world.
Yep, that cruel joke.
And the release of confidential church documents. Another key moment.
Elrond's cruel joke.
2010.
Yep. On humanity. I mean, they treated him so badly. But he was also such a fucker, I understand it.
Which had released classified documents related to the U.S. government. The attacks, which were dubbed Operation Payback, involved distributed denial of service attacks and other forms of digital disruption, and they marked the beginning of Anonymous's use of hacktivism to achieve its goals. Since then, Anonymous has engaged in a wide range of campaigns and operations, including the targeting of various governments, corporations, and individuals. The group has been involved in various forms of direct action, including protests and acts of civil disobedience. One of the defining features of Anonymous is its emphasis on anonymity. Members of the group often wear Guy Fawkes masks, which have become a symbol of resistance against oppressive regimes and corporations. The use of masks and pseudonyms allows individuals to participate in anonymous activities without fear of retribution, and it also helps to create a sense of solidarity and a collective identity. Despite its decentralized and leaderless structure, Anonymous has managed to achieve significant political impact over the years. The group's campaigns have raised awareness of various issues, from government surveillance to police brutality, and sometimes resulted in concrete policy changes. However, the group's tactics have also been criticized for being indiscriminate and sometimes harmful. The use of distributed denial of service attacks, for example, can cause collateral damage to innocent websites and users. Additionally, some of Anonymous campaigns have been accused of being motivated more by a desire for attention and notoriety than by a genuine commitment to social justice. The origins of Anonymous are rooted in the early days of the internet and the emergence of online communities and forums. The group's evolution
Your skill has increased.
Has been shaped by a shared belief in freedom of expression and opposition to censorship, as well as by the development of new digital
Your skill has increased.
tactics. While Anonymous has achieved significant political impact over the years, its activities have also been considered controversial, and
Your
its
skill
tactics
has
have been
increased.
criticized for being indiscriminate and potentially harmful. Nonetheless, the group's commitment to anonymity and its decentralized decision-making has allowed it to continue to thrive as a leaderless collective of
Your skill has
individuals
increased.
guided by a shared vision of a more just and equitable world. At its core, the ideology of Anonymous is rooted in a commitment to freedom of expression and opposition to censorship. The group's members believe that individuals should have the right to express themselves freely without fear of retribution.
Your skill has
from
increased.
corporations. Anonymous also has a strong anti-authoritative streak, and its members often see themselves as a counterforce to oppressive regimes and institutions. The group has been involved in various campaigns against governments and corporations that are perceived as corrupt or unjust, and it has often used digital tools and tactics to challenge the power of these institutions. Another key aspect of Anonymous's ideology is its commitment to direct action and civil disobedience. The group's members often engage in protests, acts of civil disobedience, and other forms of direct action in order to raise awareness of various social and political issues. This commitment to direct action is part of what sets Anonymous apart from other online communities and activists, many of whom focus more on petitioning and lobbying for change within existing institutions. In addition to its commitment to freedom of expression and opposition to censorship, Anonymous also has a strong ethos of decentralization and individual autonomy. The group has no formal leadership structure, and its members make decisions through a process of consensus building and collective decision making. This emphasis on decentralization and autonomy is part of what makes Anonymous so resilient and difficult to target or dismantle. While Anonymous has been involved in a wide range of campaigns and operations over the years, the group's ideology remains somewhat amorphous and difficult to pin down. This is partly due to the decentralized and leaderless nature of the group, but it is also a reflection of the diversity of perspectives and beliefs held by its members. Despite this diversity, however, certain themes and values are central to Anonymous's ideology. These include commitment to freedom of expression and strong anti-authoritative streak, a belief in direct action and civil disobedience, and an emphasis on decentralization and individual autonomy. At the same time, there are also debates and disagreements within the group about the best strategies and tactics to use in pursuit of these goals. Some members of Anonymous prioritize the use of digital tools and tactics, while others believe that direct action and civil disobedience are more effective. Similarly, there are debates about the merits of maintaining anonymity and decentralization versus building more formal structures and institutions. Ultimately, the ideology of Anonymous is best understood as a loose collective of values and beliefs that are shared by its members, rather than a formal doctrine or a set of principles. Despite the challenges and controversies that the group has faced over the years, its commitment to freedom of expression, direct action, and decentralization continues to inspire and motivate hacktivists around the world.
The activist hacking group, Anonymous, has declared Friday ISIS Trolling Day. It's calling on people to spend the day mocking the terror group on social media. Anonymous declared war on ISIS following the attacks in Paris last month. In a rare interview, a member of Anonymous spoke with Joe Tidy from Britain's Sky News.
If you're on the internet, you're there because we kind of let you be there.
Behind the menacing masks and monikers of notorious hacking collective Anonymous is a disarmingly ordinary group of people. Here, my interview with a father of three who calls himself Comedy is interrupted by members of his own team for fun.
Oh man, I'm gonna kill these guys.
It contrasts with the deadly serious declaration the group made against IS after the Paris attacks last month.
Que nous vous trouverons et que nous ne lâcherons rien.
We are going to launch the biggest ever operation against you. Expect very many cyber attacks.
So far, Anonymous, led by a small group of specialists called GhostSec, claim to have taken down more than 100 Islamic State websites and more than 25,000 social media accounts.
Anonymous has been involved in a wide range of hacking attacks over the years, targeting governments, corporations, and individuals that are seen as oppressive or corrupt. Some of the most notable attacks carried out by Anonymous include the 2010 Operation Payback, which targeted companies that had cut off WikiLeaks funding, the 2011 Operation Tunisia, which supported the Arab Spring uprising in the Middle East and North Africa, and the 2014 Operation Ferguson, which aimed to draw attention to police brutality in the United States. In addition to these high-profile operations, Anonymous has also been involved in a wide range of other hacking activities, including defacing websites, stealing data, and launching distributed denial-of-service attacks, also known as DDoS attacks. These attacks have targeted a wide range of entities from government agencies and banks to religious organizations and hate groups. One of the key strengths of Anonymous as a hacking group is its ability to quickly mobilize and coordinate attacks across a wide range of targets. The group's decentralized structure and lack of formal leadership make it difficult for authorities to track and dismantle, and its use of online tools and tactics allows it to launch attacks from virtually anywhere in the world. Despite its reputation as a group of hacktivists, however, Anonymous tactics have often been criticized for their indiscriminate nature and potential to cause harm to innocent individuals and organizations. Some have also raised concerns about the group's tendency to prioritize spectacle and attention-seeking over actual political change. Despite these criticisms, however, Anonymous remains a powerful force in the world of hacking and digital activism. Its ability to harness the power of online communities and mobilize for direct action has inspired countless activists around the world to challenge oppressive governments and institutions, and its legacy continues to influence the development of digital activism and protest movements to this day.
That's not good. Oh god, are they gonna kill me? They might. Yeah, I'm not fucking sticking around to find out. They were too high.
As we come to an end of our exploration into the world of Anonymous and its history of hacking, we hope that you've gained a greater understanding of the group's motivations and tactics. Just like the iconic figure of V from V for Vendetta, Anonymous is a symbol of resistance against oppressive regimes and institutions. Its members are dedicated to the principles of freedom of expression, direct action, and individual autonomy. And they have used digital tools and tactics to challenge the power of governments and corporations around the world. If you've enjoyed learning about Anonymous and its history of hacking, we invite you to consider becoming a member of TACRaven Academy's YouTube channel. As a member, you'll have access to exclusive perks. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, and be sure to comment below with your thoughts and ideas. We always love hearing from our viewers, and we can't wait to continue this journey of exploration and discovery together. The third hacker is Adrian Lemo. Adrian Lemo has become famous to the world, and by no means the best deeds. Being a genius hacker, he hacked networks of dozens of companies. By the way, Adrian Lemo never was interested in the small game. His victims were exclusively giant corporations: Cisco, Microsoft, Bank of America, and the list can be continued indefinitely. For him, everything was simple. An hour or two with clicks on the keys in a mediocre internet cafe, and oh, a miracle. Google is defeated, and Lemo, suffering from a painful thirst for attention, smooths his hands smugly, and in his piggy bank, another victory. However, there is no harm without good. The actions of a homeless hacker, as he was dubbed by the press for a nomadic way of life, made a significant contribution to the development of information security, and this, perhaps, is already a weighty reason to consider in detail his biography. Adrian Lemo, born in Boston on February 20th, 1981, first met with the computer at the ages of 6 to 7 years old. Agreed, it's quite early considering that in the 80s IT technologies had just begun to develop. Lemo's parents got Commodore 64, on which he committed his first small crime. The boy could not reconcile those games should be played by the rules, and he did not find any way out except to hack his favorite text adventures. And after that, nothing could stop him from enjoying the process, so Lemo realized that the rules can and should be broken, at least for fun. Adrian Lemo traveled the country mainly hitchhiking, having only a laptop, necessary medicines, a set of change of clothes, and a warm blanket. At night, the hacker spent with friends, in abandoned buildings, and on construction sites. It was during the years of travel Lamo made his very high-profile crimes. Incredibly, to penetrate the networks of the large organizations, he used only Wi-Fi internet cafes or libraries, a browser on his laptop, and an IP scanner. Extremely modest set for a world-class hacker. Engaging in hacking network companies like Singular, Lamo observed certain safety rules. The homeless hacker did not stop in any city for more than 2 nights. As Lamo later confessed, he, like a well-known criminal Saddam Hussein, was constantly on the move. In September 2001, Adrian Lamo hacked Yahoo. Having access to the news editing software, the hacker made changes to the publications for about 3 weeks. As a result, the programmer Dmitry Skylarov unexpectedly turned out, under the website version, under the threat of death. And the U.S. Justice Minister Jay Ashcroft held a conference for the quote-unquote military hordes, during which he announced that they will quote-unquote not get their way. And the truth and the federal law are just the opposite. Surprisingly, the administration of the system would not have known about the hacking if Lamo had not reported it himself via security focus. In defense of the hacker, you can say that he never pursued mercenary goals and led criminal activity exclusively for the sake of interest. Lamo called himself a quote-unquote security researcher, and for a long time he got away with it. After committing serious crimes from the point of view of the U.S. law, he did not cause significant damage to his victims, but merely informed them of security vulnerabilities. Later, the hacker penetrated the computer system of Microsoft, having gained access to information on all the corporation's customers, and took control of the WARM web service, which manages the routers of the internal networks of organizations such as Bank of America, Citicorp, and JP Morgan. However, the most interesting crime in the biography of Adrian Lamo was the hacking of the network of the largest U.S. internet provider, WorldCom. As in previous cases, he himself informed the company about the deed. It is noteworthy that her administration immediately contacted the hacker, listened to all of his recommendations on improving the security system, and did not make a single complaint. Such a meeting point could not remain undetected by the press. Journalists took numerous interviews with the young man, and Adrian Lamo's photos were adorned with prints, and now he was called not only homeless, but a helping hacker. Perhaps the activists of Lamo had annoyed some organizations, but he became incredibly popular, and the lawsuit against him could damage their image. This ultimately led to an incredible loyalty to the cybercriminal. However, it was so for the time being. But while Lamo himself did not hate glory at all, but on the contrary, rejoiced, and he happily paid time to his PR.
Well, Time Warner, MCI, WorldCom, Microsoft, and very famously the New York Times, and that's just a few of his acts. Today he's going to talk about hacking for fun and not necessarily profit, but certainly in notoriety. Adrian Lamo, one of the most celebrated hackers in the world today. Welcome to the Screensaver. It's good to have you on. Thanks for having me. How come you don't have some like deep dark hacker name, like super cyber freaker guy?
It's one of those things that never really occurred to me back in the day I toyed with the idea of using one, but I figured if I'm me, I might as well go on as me.
We call you the homeless hacker because you don't have a residence that you live in all the time. You move around from friend's house to house. Is that how you do it?
I sort of have a long-term tendency to move around. I've been a little bit more stable lately, but I wouldn't say I'm slowing down.
So, one day, he was right in front of the camera operator at NBC and demonstrated his skills, and for 5 minutes, disarmed his own broadcaster. Now it is understandable why, in the environment of computer scientists, Lamo became a hero and an idol. Although this is only one side of the coin. Many people accuse him of openly pouting before the press and has a thirst for public attention. Of course, Adrian Lamo's life story does not consist of only from the dizzying victories. A homeless hacker played with fire and once had to suffer punishment. In 2002, the very moment of reckoning came. Then Lamo entered the New York Times network for fun. For 2 minutes, he found a weak spot in the security system and soon got access to personal data of over 3,000 people who published articles in the newspaper, as well as famous persons such as Bill Gates and Ronald Reagan were suddenly under the hood of a young hacker. However, this was not enough for him. To top it all off, Lamo had included himself in the New York Times staff list. and had become an information security specialist in the company. The New York Times accused the hacker of illegally entering her computer system and stealing passwords. And this time, LeMaux himself was under the hood, and not at anyone but the FBI. Already in autumn 2003, an arrest warrant was issued for Adrian LeMaux. The hacker, however, did not want to surrender and tried to hide from the authorities. Probably then, he really felt like Saddam Hussein. However, unlike the ill-fated Iraqi president, LeMaux was in a cell in a few days,
That's
although
ding.
he was released on bail after a single night behind bars. After 15 months of litigation, the verdict was announced. The hacker had to pay compensation of $65,000. In addition, he was sentenced to 6 months of house arrest and 2 years of probation. Exceptionally mild punishment considering the claims of the plaintiff. Nevertheless, it stopped the marginal activity of cybercrime that he was committing completely and irrevocably. The probation period appointed by LeMaux by the court expired in early 2007, and during this time he probably realized that every crime is punishable. A former hacker got a journalistic education, became a famous lecturer and specialist in computer security, and forever broke with his past. However, in 2010, LeMaux still took part in a loud scandal, and this time, on the other side of the law, he was not. But a certain Bradley Manning, the serviceman, had the impudence to tell LeMaux about the secret videotape of the U.S. air raid on journalists in Iraq, and transferred them by WikiLeaks, and very soon, on the tip of his confidant, it was seized by the authorities. Suspicion has continued to persist around the death of Adrian LeMaux, the man who made headlines in 2010 when he turned in the U.S. Army intelligence analyst come whistleblower Chelsea Manning into the FBI and stated this.
And revive. I believe that his actions were endangering lives and that he was going to continue to carry out a course of conduct, specifically exfiltrating documents that had the potential to endanger lives.
Adrian LeMaux died under mysterious circumstances in March 2018 at the age of 37. Many theorize LeMaux's death came as a result of suicide or murder, but now, for the first time, his final days have been revealed, but displaying a tragic life riddled by failing health, melancholy, and prescription drug use. Next up is Albert Gonzalez. According to the New York Daily News, Gonzalez was dubbed the Sikh Nazi and got his start as a troubled pack leader of computer nerds at his Miami high school. He eventually became active on criminal commerce site shadowcrew.com and was considered one of its best hackers and moderators.
Shadow Crew was started by 2 individuals in the U.S. about a year before Albert Gonzalez's arrest.
Shadow Crew was a global marketplace for online crime. These hackers are hacking into company systems in order to get access to credit card information of consumers and sell it. All of this was completely new. I mean, we have been investigating hackers most of the time.
Your skill has increased.
Lone wolf hackers, and this was now organized criminal groups online. This was identity theft on a scale we had never seen.
The Shadow Crew website was a black and blue site. It said Shadow Crew across the top, and underneath it, their logo was, "For those who like to play in the shadows."
The web page had various rows in it that were dedicated to certain forums, organized in a way that you could identify the types of criminals you wanted to interact with.
At 22, Gonzalez was arrested in New York for debit card fraud related to stealing data from millions of card accounts.
One of tonight's biggest newsmakers can't be here with us. He is under lock and key at a detention center in New York, probably without a computer in his cell. Albert Gonzalez is awaiting trial on allegations he orchestrated the largest data breach in history. He and his accomplices are accused of acquiring 130 million credit and debit card numbers from 5 large companies.
What?
Having no access.
To avoid jail time, he blamed an informant for the Secret Service, ultimately helping indict dozens of Shadow Crew members. During his time as a paid informant, Gonzalez continued his criminal activities along with a group of accomplices. and Gonzalez stole more than 180 million payment cards accounts from companies including Office Max, Dave & Buster's, and the Boston Market. The New York Times magazine notes that Gonzalez's 2005 attack on U.S. retailer TJX was the first serial data breach of credit information. Using a basic SQL injection, this famous hacker and his team created backdoors in several corporate networks, stealing an estimated $256 million from TJX alone.
Largest data breach in U.S. history is getting even larger tonight. The Wall Street Journal report says as many as 200 million customer records were stolen from Framingham-based TJX, which is the parent company of TJ Maxx and Marshalls. And now a local company is telling us that it actually warned TJX it was vulnerable to hackers. Warnings, they say, fell on deaf ears. Mary Saladin explains in a story that's new at 11.
It turns out the biggest security breach in history was as easy as a hacker sitting outside of Marshall's near St. Paul, Minnesota, and pointing a telescope-shaped antenna toward the store to capture the wireless transactions going on inside.
And what this bad person was doing outside was listening to that traffic over wireless network. So no one knew they were there, and they were visible, the wireless networks were visible. They listened for about 2 days, got all this information, credit card information, bank account information, and then use that information to go back into the network and then compromise the TJX headquarters in Framingham, because now they have effectively a key to the door.
To make matters worse, TJX allegedly failed to encrypt their data.
Not only did they leave their windows wide open with the wireless network, but they left their wallet on the counter with money hanging out.
Even with encryption, you still need other measures to make sure you are locking out people who might be the bad guys outside.
Devising such wireless security measures is a large part of what Newbury Networks does. The Boston-based firm holds contracts with the federal government as well as numerous companies in the banking and financial securities industry. They had tried to sell their services to TJX a few years back, but TJX declined.
In the case of TJX, it was not an atypical response. I'm just starting with wireless. It's not a big deal. I don't think people are going to see this. The part they keep forgetting is that without location access, it's like putting a steel door on a grass hut. I mean, it doesn't care how great your door is in the front. The hut is incredibly porous. You can walk right through it.
Security experts call the TJX breach the ultimate wake-up call for corporations like TJX, who up until now downplayed such a wireless threat. In frame.
During his sentencing in 2015, the federal prosecutor called Gonzalez's human victimization unparalleled. Next up is Matthew Bevan and Richard Price. Matthew Bevan and Richard Price are a team of British hackers who hacked into multiple military networks in 1996. Including Griffiths Air Force Base, the Defense Information Systems Agency, and the Korean Atomic Research Institute, also known as KARI.
You're a little too loud.
Bevan and Price have been accused of nearly starting a third world war because they dumped KARI research onto American military systems. Bevan claimed that he was looking to prove a UFO conspiracy theory.
Oh, God.
And according to the BBC, his case bears the resemblance of that of Gary McKinnon. Malicious intent or not, Bevan and Price demonstrated that even military networks are vulnerable. Next up is Jensen, James, and Chetta. Chetta had no interest in hacking systems for credit card data or crashing networks to deliver social justice. Instead, Chetta was curious about the use of bots, software-based robots that can infect and ultimately control computer systems.
Computers can hold all kinds of personal and professional secrets. Bank account passwords to sensitive privacy hands. Every minute of every day, those secrets can be targets of so-called cyber generals who can link computers to act like soldiers, an illegal network called a botnet. What is a botnet?
Just think of it as an actual computer network that's been sort of ad hoc put together by a group of criminals or someone with malintent.
And who are the people doing this?
You know, it ranges from everything from kids just playing around to really professional cyber.
Green Hijazi's company, Unvalence, tracks those illegal botnet networks. Companies hire him to see whether their computers are being tapped. You might call him a hacker.
software viruses.
So once that attack starts, information's going back to the control center. And the next map shows how widespread this is.
Right. This is an hour-long snapshot for the afternoon of unveiling, where we see botnets actually feeding information out into the connected pulse servers.
Look at all those dots. How many are we talking about at any given time?
Tens, millions, if not hundreds.
Using a series of large-scale botnets, he was able to compromise more than 400,000 computers in 2005. According to Ars Technica, he then rented these machines out to advertising companies and was also paid to directly install bots or adware on systems. Encheta was sentenced to 57 months in prison.
57 months.
A hacker was sent to jail.
Has a task that it wishes completed. You should speak with it. Oh, the forest whispers of your feats of valor, adventurer.
In February,
as I felt the harpies forced from their nests, a greater calm spread across the forest, its creatures once again feeling safe. I have feared sending another messenger to the archdruid, but I know that you will see my message safely to him. Deliver this to him and know that the forest will see you safely along its paths to the forest of stone.
February 2000, 15-year-old Michael Kels, also known as Mafia Boy, discovered how to take over networks of the university computers. He used their combined resources to disrupt the number one search engine at the time, Yahoo. Within 1 week, he also brought down Dell, eBay, CNN, and Amazon using DDoS attacks, also known as distributed denial of service attacks, that overwhelmed corporate servers and caused their websites to crash. Kels's wake-up call was perhaps the most jarring for cybercrime investors and internet proponents. If the biggest websites in the world valued over $1 billion could be so easily sidelined, was any online data truly safe? It's not exaggerated to say that the development of cybercrime legislation suddenly became a top government priority thanks to Kels's hack.
Well, for starters, they should hire me. I think third-party security penetration testing is the absolute #1 most effective way at mitigating these type of attacks, and basically what I did when I was younger and all the hackers that have surfaced over the time. #2 is train the staff and employees, because hackers are constantly taking advantage and socially engineering employees to obtain information, sensitive information. So that's a crucial problem right now, that they just hire people and there's no like actual professional security training, or if there is, it's very little, and people aren't really thinking that they might be the person who's actually exploited and not the system itself. It's a lot about balancing the practicality versus the security. I would tell them to advise, like, don't use your laptop that's going to be connected to the business network on a public Wi-Fi. Train, hotspots, like cafes, like do not, connect to those. Even if you need to use the internet, you're better off using your smartphone to check whatever you need, emails or
Your
whatever.
skill has increased.
But to like literally connect your laptop, I would, advise companies to advise their employees to avoid doing so, because it's plagued. I mean, even hotels, they send them on business trips, and you wouldn't believe how many hackers are just sitting in a hotel, like swamping all the data that's being passed through the network, and it's so easy.
Oh my god. Rich people.
Kevin Paulson. In 1983, a 17-year-old Paulson, using the alias Dark Dante, hacked into ARPANET, the Pentagon's computer network. Although he was quickly caught, the government decided not to prosecute Paulson, who was a minor at the time. Instead, he was let off with a warning. Paulson didn't heed this warning and continued hacking. In 1988, Paulson hacked a federal computer and dug into files pertaining to the deposed president of the Philippines, Ferdinand Marcos. When discovered by the authorities, Paulson went underground. While he was on the run, Paulson kept busy hacking government files and revealing secrets. According to his own website, in 1990, he hacked a radio station contest and ensured that he was the 102nd caller, winning a brand new Porsche, a vacation, and $20,000. Polson was soon arrested and barred from using the computer for 3 years. He has since converted to white hat hacking for journalism, writing about cybersecurity and web-related socio-political causes for Wired, the Daily Beast, and his own blog threat level. Paulson also teamed up with other leading hackers to work on various projects dedicated to social justice and freedom of information, perhaps most notably working with Adam Swartz and Jim Dolan to develop the open source software secure drive, initially known as Deadron. Eventually, Paulson turned over the platform which enabled secure communication between journalists and sources to the Freedom of the Press Foundation. Jonathan James. Using the alias Comrade, Jonathan James hacked several companies. According to the New York Times, what really earned James' attention was his hack into the computers of the United States Department of Defense. Even more impressive was the fact that James was only 15 at the time. In an interview with PC Magazine, James admitted that he was partly inspired by the book The Cuckoo's Egg, which details the hunt for a computer hacker in the 1980s. His hacking allowed him to access over 3,000 messages from government employees' usernames, passwords, and other sensitive data. James was arrested in 2000 and was sentenced to 6 months house arrest and banned from recreational computer use. However, a probation violation caused him to serve 6 months in jail. Jonathan James became the youngest person to be convicted of violating cybercrime laws. In 2007, TJX, a department store, was hacked and many customers' private
6:45, not bad.
Despite a lack of evidence, authorities suspect that James may have been involved. In 2008, James committed suicide by gunshot. According to the Daily Mail, his suicide note stated, "I have no faith in the justice system. Perhaps my actions today in this letter will send a strong message to the public. Either way, I have lost control over this situation, and this is my only way to regain control."
Wow. You took it way too seriously, dude. These guys are clowns.
Astra. This hacker differs from the others on this list.
Not the
in that
hackers, the
he has
government.
never been
The government is
publicly
clowns. You
identified.
can't let them win by getting in your brain or your soul and letting them kill you. Trust me, I have probably more valid reason to dislike them than that guy does. And trust me, it doesn't. The anger and the sickness and the paranoia and the problems and the acting out and the ripping people off, it doesn't really go anywhere. It doesn't do anything. Nobody will ever respect you for it. There will be people who know what you're doing and all that stuff.
I am listening. I shall fill out.
Well, at least I'm getting some of this cooking done. Gotta go do some of the fishing too, but I mean, yeah, I'm at the river. I might as well do it, and like that way I can leave this place. Yeah, nice. Yep.
Your skill has increased.
I thought I had sat, but I guess not. Oh, that hurt. Stomping hurt. Son of a bitch. Yeah, let's just sort of mosey towards safety if I need it, but I don't think so. Yeah, this bull dam was fine. Yep, he's just been out for a long time. Get back to full. Oops.
You've been examined.
Small eggs. Roasted boar meat, stringy wolf meat. Druid trainers and stuff. Yeah, we're gonna see.
However, according to the Daily Mail, some information has been released about
in the rain, you
namely that
scratch
he was
and claw,
apprehended
then
by
do it all
authorities
over
in
again.
That's it,
2008,
nothing?
And at that time, he was identified as a 58-year-old
I
great
didn't see you
mathematician.
enter, adventurer. What can I
Reportedly,
do
he
for
had
you?
been hacking into the Dassault group for
I am
almost
honored.
half a decade. During that time, he stole cutting-edge weapon technology, software, and data, which he then sold to 250 individuals around the world. His hacking cost the Dassault Group $360 million in
I don't know. I'll take the fast money now.
No one knows why his complete identity has never been revealed, but the word Astra is a Sanskrit word for weapon.
This was good. Oh no, no, it's not over. Oh, yeah, okay. I like hearing about these idiots go to jail. It's actually really fucking like edifying to me because I did far worse than them.
Computer systems around the world are running again after they were frozen in a massive cyber extortion attack. Tens of thousands of computers in about 100 countries were affected. Experts say the so-called ransomware is no longer spreading. Jonathan Bigliotti has the latest from London.
The massive hack crippled computer systems around the world, from Taiwan to Turkey. Spain's telephone system was among the first targeted. Russia's largest mobile phone company was hit. American-based FedEx announced they were also infected. In the UK, the virtual attack sent the National Health Service into emergency mode. Ambulances and patients were turned away from hospitals across the country.
They said, I'm really sorry, but the computer system is down. We don't have to go away. We can't have any appointments. It would be dangerous to do so. We can't access any of the files.
Hackers encrypted those files, rendering them unreadable. To decode them, they demanded $300 in ransom. The amount would double.
$300.
If ignored, they warned the data would be destroyed. The hack appeared to exploit a vulnerability in Microsoft Windows, first identified by the U.S. National Security Agency and later leaked in a series of stolen documents. British politicians immediately fired back, including Labour Party leader Jeremy Corbyn.
What we've now got is a bunch of 21st century highway robbers that have got...
It's a 21st century digital boy. Don't know how to live, but I got a lot of toys. My daddy's a lazy middle class intellectual. My mommy's on Valium, so ineffectual.
Invoices and security warnings. It's a primitive technique that cyber experts say can be guarded against by regularly backing up data and updating software.
Here in the UK, government officials say computer systems are almost fully back up and running. It's still unclear who's behind the attack, but Rena, analysts say that...
Nice, 129 for him. That got paid.
...and not state-sponsored.
Let's see if we can chunk this guy enough.
The ransom attack was a global cyber attack that occurred in May 2017, which infected more than 200,000 computers across 150 countries. It is considered one of the most significant cyber attacks in history. The malware used in the attack was a type of ransomware that encrypted files on infected computers and demanded payment in the cryptocurrency of Bitcoin for the files to be decrypted. The attack targeted computers running the Microsoft Windows. The malware exploited a vulnerability in the Windows Server message block (SMB) protocol, which allowed it to spread rapidly across networks. The attackers used a hacking tool called Eternal Blue, which was
Your skill has increased.
by the state's National Security Agency, also known as the NSA, and leaked by a hacker group called... The WannaCry attack affected many high-profile organizations, including the United Kingdom's National Health Services, which was forced to cancel thousands of appointments and shut down many of its services temporarily.
I don't know.
Other victims
No, I can't kill him.
companies such as FedEx,
That's all right.
Renault, and Telefonica. The attack caused significant economic damage, with estimates of losses ranging from hundreds of millions to billions of dollars.
Wow.
The attackers demanded a ransom of $300 in Bitcoin per infected computer to restore access to the encrypted files. Despite many victims did not pay the ransom, and the hackers reportedly made only around $140,000 in Bitcoin. A quote-unquote kill switch was eventually discovered, which prevented further spread of the malware. The importance of regularly updating software and implementing robust cybersecurity measures to protect against cyber attacks. It also demonstrated the potential for significant disruption and damage that could be caused by cyber attacks and the importance of international cooperation in responding to them.
Financial and cyber experts warn the Equifax hack has the potential to harm Americans for decades, and every adult should assume their information is stolen. Names, social security numbers, DODs, addresses, driver's license numbers, and 200,000 credit cards.
Doctors, social workers, government workers, libraries,
Across the country
librarians.
today, frustration and anger
Everybody
at
gets high
Equifax's security lapse.
I don't think there's any
on Equifax.
and I think their response is poor. You don't know who you can trust, where you can use your information, your credit cards.
Amid a public backlash, Equifax today said customers who sign up for 1 year of free credit monitoring and theft protection will not surrender their rights to sue. But the hack means we could all be at risk our whole lives.
Your name, address, social database, that information is going to change, so it has perpetual value to a fraudster. So in 5 years, the threat is not gone. In 10 years and 20 years, the threat is not gone.
Tonight, credit experts say every American should take immediate steps to safeguard their credit. Sign up for fraud alerts from Equifax and the other 2 credit agencies, Experian and TransUnion. Consider paying for an identity theft monitoring service. Also set up fraud alerts on your bank and credit cards. Consider freezing your credit report so only companies you already do business with will have access. Criminals will be locked out, but you'll need to unfreeze it when you need a legitimate credit check. And check your credit report for suspicious activity. We're all entitled to 1 free credit report every year from each of the 3 agencies. More on freezing your credit on our Nightly News Facebook page.
The Equifax data breach occurred in 2017 is considered one of the largest data breaches in history. It affected 143 million customers' personal information, including social security numbers, birth dates, addresses, and in some cases, driver's license numbers and credit card numbers. The breach occurred due to a vulnerability in the company's website application software, which hackers were able to exploit to gain access to sensitive data. The breach was discovered by Equifax on July 29, 2017, but the company did not disclose it publicly until September 7, 2017. This delay in disclosure was criticized by many, as it meant that affected customers were left unaware of the breach for several weeks, during which time their personal information could have been used by criminals. The Equifax data breach resulted in a loss of trust among the customers of the company, and many criticized the company for its handling of the situation. Equifax offered free credit monitoring to affected customers, but this was criticized for being inadequate and for requiring customers to waive their rights to sue the company in order to participate. The breach also led to calls for greater regulation of credit reporting agencies, as they are entrusted with sensitive personal information and are seen as having significant power over individuals' financial lives. In response, the United States Congress passed the Economic Growth, Regulatory Relief, and Consumer Protection Act in 2018, which included provisions aimed at improving cybersecurity at credit reporting agencies and providing greater protections for their customers. The Equifax data breach serves as a reminder of the importance of robust cybersecurity measures and the potential damage that can be caused by cyber attacks. It also highlights the need for companies to be transparent in their handling of data
Streaming or using or logging, they use that for multiple sites, and of course if they're using the same password, if that's released, they can get into multiple accounts. Anyone who's involved in that could take part of the user account, find those same user accounts on different social media sites or even an Amazon account, and then recover the passwords with that same user account to the Yahoo account. You have different passwords for every account that you have. There should be no throwaway password you use as routine for every account, and a lot of people do.
I got no credit for that. Oh, right, because he was my pet. Yeah.
Of what we're gonna see.
Okay.
And in 2000,
Well, now I'm free of them.
more cloud data is aggregated, there'll be just as many, maybe not user accounts, but just as large in percentage of their business of these cloud providers getting paid.
Yahoo experienced 2 massive data breaches in 2013 and 2014, which affected all 3 billion of its user accounts. The breaches included the theft of usernames, email addresses, telephone numbers, and in some cases security questions and answers that could be used to reset passwords. The stolen data was sold on the dark web, and the breaches became known as some of the largest in history. In September 2016, Yahoo publicly disclosed the 2014 data breach, which it claimed had 500 million user accounts. However, it was later revealed that the company had also experienced a separate earlier data breach in 2013, which had impacted all of its 3 Yahoo's failure to disclose this second breach at the time was heavily criticized by customers, regulators, and the media. The breaches were attributed to a state-sponsored stolen data was used for targeted attacks on individuals, including journalists and government officials. The breaches resulted in significant damage to Yahoo's reputation and finances and led to the resignation of its CEO, Marissa Mayer. Following the breaches, Yahoo was acquired by Verizon, which lowered the value of the deal by $350 million as a result of the breaches. Yahoo also faced multiple lawsuits from customers, regulators, and investors, which it settled for hundreds of millions of dollars. The Yahoo data serves as a stark reminder of the importance of cybersecurity measures and the potential consequences of failing to protect user data. The breaches also highlight the need for transparency and swift action in response to data breaches, as well as the importance of companies being accountable for the security of their customers' data.
It's kind of like playing that old game Whack-A-Mole. First, it was Target, the security firm, compromised the confidential information of millions of Americans. Then we learned about Neiman Marcus. The high-end retailer disclosed it too had been hacked. We're still waiting for word. And now a report from the Cyberwatch group Intel Crawler suggests at least 6 more retailers have yet to tell customers they've been breached as well, with the same malware, attacking their online credit card processing. So the question now, where should we look next?
Once it's identified, then the security community can rally around it and start to put controls in place. But the problem is the hackers know that, so they manipulate or mutate this malware and then reuse it.
According to Intel Crawler, the source of the software can all be traced back to one place. A hacker, close to 17 years old, in Russia. The report claims the very first sample of the malware was created in March of 2013, hitting stores in Australia, Canada, and the United States.
Let's say hypothetically a retailer has 40 million transactions by 40 million different customers. All 40 million may have been damaged in some way, and under law they can be joined together in a class action lawsuit.
Legally, the burden is on retailers to protect customer information. But from what we know now, this could be the tip of the iceberg. Experts say the team who made the malware that started this whole mess shared it with other hackers.
And was able to put that up on the internet for download for other hackers to then take and potentially use it for malicious harm. And that's what we believe happened to Target as well as the
Your skill has increased.
In late 2013, Target experienced a massive outage that affected millions of customers' credit and debit card information, as well as personal information, such as names.
140 off him, not bad, not bad.
The breach occurred during the busy holiday shopping season and was the result of a sophisticated attack on Target's point-of-sale systems. The hackers gained access to Target's systems by stealing credentials from third-party vendors, which had access to Target's network. The attackers were then able to install malware on Target's point-of-sale systems, which allowed them to collect payment card information from customers who made purchases during the breach period. The breach affected up to 40 million customers and cost Targets hundreds of millions of dollars in legal settlements and damage to reputation. Target's handling of the breach was also criticized, as it took several days for the company to acknowledge the breach publicly and then to notify its affected customers. The Target breach led to an increased public awareness of the importance of data security, and it highlighted the vulnerability of large retailers to cyber attacks. It also resulted in changes to credit card security standards, including the widespread adoption of EMV chip cards, which are more secure than traditional magnetic stripe cards. The Target data breach serves as a reminder of the importance of strong cybersecurity measures, including the need to carefully manage third-party vendors and to quickly detect and respond to cyber attacks. It also highlights the need for companies to be transparent and responsive in their handling of data breaches in order to maintain customer trust and minimize the impact of such breaches.
What an amazing 24 hours. Between the thaw and the icy Cuba-U.S. relations to the incredible move by Sony to back down to hackers and remove the movie The Interview from release. It is that story where we began. Here are the latest headlines. U.S. officials conclude that North Korea is behind the devastating cyber attack against Sony, and the scope of that attack forced Sony to cancel the planned December 25th release of the movie The Interview, which depicts reporters assigned to kill North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Meanwhile, it may be hard for anyone to see the movie. They will not offer the movie on demand. Joining us first is Bruce Schneier, an internationally renowned security technologist who has penned a fascinating essay in the Wall Street Journal. Thank you so much for joining us, Bruce.
Thank you.
So I'm going to first read from the which is really hit home for me. Here it is. We're much better at relative security than we are at absolute security. That is why security experts aren't surprised by the Sony story. We know people who do penetration testing for a living. Real no-holds-barred attacks that mimic a full-on assault by a dogged expert attacker, and we know they're always dead. Pretty dire stuff. Should I be as depressed as I think I am reading this?
Yeah, of course not. This has been true for years, it's been true for decades, and we're all doing just fine. So while it's true in cyberspace, attackers could always get in, it's true in the real world. If someone wanted to shoot you, they'd shoot you. But it doesn't happen very often. This is an extreme scenario. It happens very, very rarely, and we have to accept that it does happen.
In late 2014, Sony Pictures suffered a major cyber attack that resulted in the theft of sensitive data, including employee data, intellectual property, and confidential emails. The attack was attributed to a group of hackers calling themselves the quote-unquote Guardians of Peace, who claimed to be motivated by anger over the planned release of the movie quote-unquote The Interview, which depicted the assassination of North Korea leader Kim Jong-un. The attackers gained access to Sony's systems through a spear phishing attack, which involves sending offensive-looking emails to Sony employees in order to trick them into revealing their origin. Once inside the network, the attackers were able to move laterally and steal large amounts of data. The attack resulted in significant damage to Sony's reputation and finances, as well as legal and regulatory fallout. The company was criticized for its handling of the breach, including its slow response and lack of transparency, which affected employees. The Sony Pictures hack highlighted the increased sophistication and frequency of cyber attacks and the need for companies to take cybersecurity seriously. It also demonstrated the potential impact of cyber attacks on businesses, including financial losses, damage, and legal and regulatory consequences. In response to the attack, the United States government attributed the attack to North Korea and imposed sanctions on the country. The attack also led to increased focus on the need for international cooperation in addressing cyber threats, and the importance of private and public partnerships in protecting against cyber attacks.
Earlier this week, we first learned that J.P. Morgan Chase, America's largest bank, may have been the victim of a cyber attack. The latest reports indicate the bank is still investigating whether its computer systems were hacked, while its depositors are left to worry. Michael Regan, editor-at-large at Bloomberg News, joins us with more. Good morning, Michael. Bloomberg broke this story to start with. It looks like this actually began way back in June?
That's what it looks like, right? So, basically what happened is they went right through one of their normal consumer-facing websites. We're not sure exactly which one yet. And once they, basically picking the lock of the front door of the bank in cyberspace. And once inside, they unleashed what appears to be custom-made software, malicious software.
This is an extremely advanced attack, is what you're saying.
Right. I compared it sort of the Ocean's 11 of cyber attacks. It's not a smash and grab. This is a very highly sophisticated, people that knew what the inside of the bank's technology infrastructure looked like, knew where to go, and they basically tunneled into, various data sources and began slowly siphoning out data.
Your skill has increased.
JP Morgan discovered it earlier this month. So
What about JP Morgan though? Because we had just heard they spent $250 million saying we're going to protect our customers. We're not going to let what happened at Target and Neiman Marcus happen to our customers. What could they have done if they've already spent all that money?
well, Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan, has talked about this a lot. It's been a big concern of his, a big worry of his. They beefed up, as you said, their security. They have about 1,000 people working on it. And he said, look, this is an issue they deal with just about every day. Someone trying, I mean, obviously someone's always trying to steal someone's identity, and larger when you organize attacks like this. And he said, look, sometimes the bad guys are going to win in these cases. And, luckily in this
188.
like any money was taken, but
Not bad, not bad.
data taken out of the bank. And it's the cyber security is still
Bigger they come, the harder they fall.
It's not clear exactly how much and who's, when you think of JP Morgan's customers, it's not just grandmom's bank account, it's, mutual funds, hedge funds, and everything.
And there may be as many as 4.
In 2014, JP Morgan Chase, one of the largest banks in the United States, suffered a massive data breach that affected millions of its customers. The breach was discovered in July 2014 and was later attributed to a group of hackers with ties to Russia. The attackers gained access to JP Morgan systems through a spear phishing attack on an employee, which allowed them to bypass the bank's security measures and access sensitive information on customer data, including names, addresses, phone numbers, and email addresses. The hackers also stole account information, including internal user credentials, which could potentially be used to gain access to other systems. The JP Morgan Chase data breach was one of the largest in history, with up to 76 million households and 7 million small businesses affected. The breach highlighted the vulnerability of financial institutions to cyber attacks and the potential consequences of such attacks for customers and the broader economy. JP Morgan Chase responded to the breach by implementing new security measures and investing in cybersecurity, including hiring additional staff and increasing its cybersecurity budget. The bank also offered identity theft protection and credit monitoring services to affected customers. The JP Morgan Chase data breach served as a wake-up call for the financial industry and highlighted the need for increased investment in cybersecurity measures. The breach also underscored the importance of employee education and training in preventing cyber attacks, as well as the need for rapid detection and response to such incidents in order to minimize their impact. The NotPetya ransomware attack, which occurred in June 2017, was one of the most destructive cyber attacks in history, causing widespread disruption and financial losses for businesses around the world. The attack targeted Ukrainian financial, energy, and government organizations, but quickly spread to other countries and organizations through the software update from a Ukrainian accounting software company. The NotPetya malware was designed to look like ransomware.
You've been examined.
Its true purpose was to cause damage and destruction. The malware was able to spread rapidly across networks and encrypt entire hard drives, making it difficult, if not impossible, to recover effectively. In addition to encrypting data, the malware also modified the master boot record of infected computers, rendering them unable to boot up properly. The attack affected a wide range of organizations, including shipping giant Maersk, which reportedly lost up to
You've been examined.
and pharmaceutical company Merck, which reportedly lost up to $870 million. The attack also caused significant disruptions to global shipping and logistics networks. The NotPetya attack was attributed to Russian state-sponsored hackers, and it highlighted the growing threat of non-state cyber attacks. The attack also enabled organizations to prioritize cybersecurity and to have robust backup and disaster recovery plans in place.
Your skill has increased.
To minimize the impact of such incidents. The NotPetya attack served as a warning to organizations around the world that the threat of cyber attacks is very real, and that the consequences of such attacks can be severe. It also highlighted the need for increased international cooperation in addressing the growing threat of cyber warfare and nation-state.
You've been examined.
attacks.
Terry, intelligence, and law enforcement officials have been warning Congress and the country about a coming cyber attack against critical infrastructure in the United States that could affect everything from the heat in your home to the money in your bank account. The warnings have been raised before, but never with such urgency, because this new era of warfare has already begun. The first attack, using a computer virus called Stuxnet, was launched several years ago against an Iranian nuclear facility, almost certainly with some U.S. involvement. But as we first reported in March, the implications and the possible consequences are only now coming to light.
The Stuxnet attack, which occurred in 2010, was a highly sophisticated cyber attack that targeted Iran's nuclear program. The attack was designed to disrupt Iran's uranium enrichment process by targeting its industrial control system. Stuxnet was a computer worm that was able to spread rapidly across networks and infect a wide range of systems. The malware was designed specifically to target Siemens industrial control systems used in the Iran's nuclear program, and it was able to modify
I just
the code on these systems
destroyed my
to cause
helmet.
physical damage to the centrifuges.
Oh god damn it, I thought I put it in the other set. Oh, I think it did. Oh, thank god it did.
In the use of cyber attacks as a weapon of warfare, and it highlighted the growing threat of cyber attacks on critical infrastructure.
Right? Yeah.
Demonstrated the potential for cyber attacks to cause physical damage.
I didn't lose a set, right?
Disrupt networks.
No, I have my set. Okay.
Believed to have been developed by the United States.
So just, you know, for the
broader effort to disrupt Iran's nuclear
for the record, I just want all of that locked so I don't lose it.
By the United States or Israel.
Oh, I don't have a gem for that piece of armor. 172, that's it. Oh well. Hopefully it's enough. I don't know. Do I have I think at Everfall I've got repair thingies. I'm gonna go use those.
Growing threat of cyber attacks. Overall, the Stuxnet attack represented a major milestone in the evolution of cyber warfare and demonstrated the potential for cyber attacks to cause physical damage and disruption on a global scale.
$80 million customers of Anthem, the nation's second largest health insurance company, are the latest victims of a massive security breach. Hackers got information like names, birthdays, and social security numbers in what Anthem CEO Joseph Swedish called a very sophisticated external cyber attack. In a statement, Swedish says he himself was a victim. He added they don't believe medical information or credit card numbers were compromised. Anthem has established a website, anthemtax.com, for its current and former customers who may be affected. The company says customers who suspect any cases of identity theft should immediately report it to the FBI.
In 2015, Anthem, one of the largest health insurance companies in the United States, suffered a
oh, my signet war. Damn it. Now to run all the way west. So annoying. Oh well. Wait, now I think I can use my one ring if I can get it out. That'll save me some time here.
Customer data, including names, birth dates, social security numbers, and other personal information.
This can help me.
Also stole employees' credentials, which they used to gain access to other systems.
Yeah, where's the return ring?
The return ring was one of the largest in history and highlighted the vulnerability of the healthcare organizations to cyber attacks. The breach exposed sensitive personal information of millions of customers.
Yep, this will help. Really save some time too. That's awesome. Glad I bought this.
Responded to the breach by implementing new security measures and investing in cybersecurity, including hiring additional staff and increasing its cybersecurity services to the Anthem data breach highlighted the need for increased investment in cybersecurity measures by healthcare organizations and underscored the importance of employee education and training in preventing cyber attacks. It also serves as a reminder of the potential consequences of cyber attacks on individuals and the broader economy, and highlighted the need for better international cooperations in addressing the growth of cyber attacks.
More than 21 million Americans had personal information stolen from government files.
I'm here to get, well, to put stuff away.
The information was hacked from the Office of Personnel Management, or OPM, which said today it is highly likely that anyone who went through background
Okay, so I'm looking for repair kits.
Was affected. Joining us to fill in the blanks is Josh Lederman of the Associated Press, who's been
Tier 5 repair kits, I don't have them. I'll have to buy them.
Well, what we're finding out now, Glenn, is not
Master repair kits, yeah.
affected than we previously knew, but just what kinds of data? We're talking about very personal data.
I don't like their
that
auction house
very
anymore. It
uncomfortable
bothers me
when it's out
now.
there. We're talking about people's health history.
That is very
criminal histories,
expensive.
their
Jesus
educational,
Christ, man.
residency backgrounds, as well as interviews that they conducted with
Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
OPM, the Office of Personnel Management, or other
334, huh? Yeah, well, let's do it.
In fact, all the kinds of information that we're wanting to protect with our lives. So security is biometric.
15 repair kits, Jesus, yeah. But I mean, I was hurt.
A
Yeah.
lot of these applicants use
Oh,
as they were
damn
trying
it.
to get their applications.
How was this discovered?
Well, it was discovered by a system that the government had put in place.
Let's repair that.
To detect breaches just like
And repair this too.
That
Yeah.
system was not the most modern system, and it did not detect it until it was quite a bit too as they looked into it, they realized that the initial breach that they detected was actually much broader. It affected many more people than they initially thought.
At the time, I remember there being speculation about who was behind the breach, who actually was, who the hackers were. Do we have any more information of who that might be?
No new information from
Oh.
now. Many members of Congress, including Senate Democratic Leader Harry Reid and others, have said this was China. There have even been federal agencies that said, without putting their own names on it, we're pretty sure this is China. However, the White House, the Office of Personnel Management today, declining to name who was responsible for this, only to say that they believe that these two breaches that we know about were by the same person, and that they're working behind the scenes to do what needs to be done in response to those breaches.
Now, as you said, the government has put in place a system to try to detect these breaches. How do they, does this system help them figure out a way to prevent them from happening again?
The Office of Personnel Management, also known as OPM, had a data breach which was one of the largest cyber attacks in history on a U.S. government agency. Occurring in 2015, the breach affected over 21 million current and former federal employees, as well as their families and associates. The attackers, believed to be Chinese state-sponsored hackers, gained access to OPM systems through a spear phishing attack on an employee. The attackers were then able to steal sensitive personal information, including social security numbers, employment history, and security clearance information. The OPM data breach was a significant breach of national security, as it compromised the personal information of many individuals who held security clearances and had access to classified information. The breach also raised concerns about the government's ability to protect sensitive information and improve cybersecurity measures across government agencies. Following the breach, the OPM implemented new security measures, including the use of multi-factor authentication and enhanced
You've been examined.
The agency also offered credit card monitoring and identity theft protection services to affected individuals. The OPM data breach served as a wake-up call for the United States government and underscored the need for increased investment in cybersecurity measures and the importance of employee education and training in preventing cyber attacks. It also highlighted the growing threat of nation-state cyber attacks and the need for international cooperation in addressing the threat. Overall, the OPM data breach was a significant cyber attack that had far-reaching consequences for national security and individuals affected by the breach. It underscored the need for continued vigilance and investment in cybersecurity to protect sensitive information and national security. Thank you for watching, everyone. This has been our Attack Raven Academy video on the top 10 cyber attacks. We hope you found it informative and useful in your journey to...
Yeah, it was good. Oh, is someone else still chopping? Yeah, he's still chopping. Qui-Gon Gin and Tonic. Oh, I came here for no reason. I'm gonna stop coming here. Do I have like a teleport home? I might. Let's go chop aged. Well, not like aged is not as good as you know, I don't know. Let's go chop aged for a little while in... Where do I used to go for that? That's it, like, No, my grind is good. It's a good grind. It has so much stuff added that it's just better. It's like a faster way to do it. Yeah. And it's also mindless, and it's like really good at end level stuff, so... What do we watch? I watched the entire BlizzCon thing. I don't care about BlizzCon. Face of Anonymous, How to Be Invisible Online, the largest hack the world has ever seen, Face of Anonymous, Meet the Man Beyond the Mask, tracking, yep. Athene, the streamer turned cult leader. Yeah, let's look at this one.
Hey, hi, I'm Jack, and I'm back. I took a 3-month break. I really needed it.
Thank you for Jack Rice Cider for the excellent content for my stream. I'd like to sub to your channel.
But it's springtime now, so yeah, it's time to come out of hibernation and get back to work, so let's do this. Oh, and from now on, you can expect new episodes of the show to come out on the first Tuesday of every month. In this episode, we get into a story about darknet marketplaces, and that means listener discretion is advised. We're certainly going to get into drugs this episode, and who knows what else. So let's just say this one is rated R, and this is your warning. These are true stories from the dark side of the internet. I'm Jack Resider. This is Darknet Diaries. So, let's start out with your name. So what do you want to be known as on here as well? Because you may want a moniker or something.
Oh no, so my name's Sam Ben. It's a matter of public record. I'm also known as Doing Fed Time online, and Killer B. That was my hacker alias for a while, and also 1218902, which it's almost like talking to Jean Valjean, but that's my Fed number. So yeah, I got a couple of aliases.
Okay, well maybe that gave the story away a little bit, but whatever. Now Sam spent some time in federal prison, and honestly, sometimes when I talk with criminals on this show, I get a little nervous and have to lay down some boundaries. I'm assuming your criminal spree is over, but I do not want to know about any future things you may be cooking up that may be illegal, because it puts me in an awkward spot. But
yeah, definitely not. Just us, like, even if I had mentioned something to you federally, you are literally part of a conspiracy now, and you can get up to 10 years. So I take it very seriously. Even like when I was incarcerated, I would have guys who would walk up to me and they'd be like, "Oh, when I get out, I'm gonna sell coke right this time." I'd be like, "Listen, man, get the fuck away from me, you know? Like, what is wrong with you, dumbass? Like, you're guaranteed to come back, you know? Like, it's like I don't want to hear anything about any of that." So I absolutely understand that. That's great that you have that that mindset of, you know, don't try to involve me in anything.
Okay, so when Sam was in his 20s, he was living in Vermont and was getting good at computers. And he had been fixing computers for a while, and then he started a little business doing computer repair for other people. Now, as Sam got more into technology, of course, he noticed and heard things like Silk Road, darknet marketplaces, and Tor, and Bitcoin. Because when you're a tech enthusiast, you go and check these things out.
I did this exposure to cryptocurrency.
It was good a few times, and I was like,
Darknet in general for a long time because I had been in information technology and cybersecurity. I did a lot of residential work mainly, but I was always that was always kind of my thing. I loved computers. I remember when Silk Road came out, like I honestly thought it was a scam. You know, I thought it was a bunch of feds that ran it, and like it was just a big, you know, it was just a big sting operation. And then as time went on and I learned a little bit more about it, you know, I realized it wasn't.
Silk Road was a website on the darknet that let you buy and sell drugs, among other things, illegal drugs. And the whole thing was anonymous, so it protects buyers and sellers. That way the police would have a hard time finding who the users were. An interesting use of technology, but Sam didn't really care about Silk Road at all. He was not interested in buying drugs from it or selling drugs on it. So Sam was in his 20s and had a girlfriend for 10 years that he was living with.
And like, because we were arguing about peas. My daughter got like, I had 2 stepdaughters and a son, and I made them dinner. And when I given them dinner, my ex was like, "Oh, you gave her too many peas," and I was like, "I don't think so." You know, and she was like, you know, and she's like, "Oh, well, you know, you obviously did. Look at the plate." And I was like, "Well, it's the same amount of scoops." And she's like, "You know, you're an asshole. I'm a logician. Like my personality type is INTP, so I'm a logician. So I don't really get emotionally invested in it." So I was like, "You know, I disagree. You know, I think you're wrong. It's the same amount of scoops as, you know, the other kids got." Like, so it really aggravated her. And she basically told me, she was like, you know, "I cheated on you 7 years ago."
What?
She was a super miserable person for those 7 years because her guilt ate at her. And she would take that out on everyone else. And she would basically never be home. And when she was just a nightmare to deal with. So when she ended up telling me that, I was like, awesome. Like, this is, you know, my chance to, you know, basically tell her to go to hell. And I used that opportunity to break up with her. But living in rural Vermont and doing like these small computer jobs, I definitely didn't make a ton of money. It was my own company. It was called Worldwide Computer Consultants. It was a startup. And just like, I didn't have a ton of money. So I was like, well, I need to make money. Like if I want to move out and I want to have a good house for my children to live in, I need, you know, at least $200,000.
Okay, so we've all been in this situation, right? Where life throws us a curveball and suddenly we need money. Maybe not $200,000, but still, I can relate.
He needs $200,000. He's right. Kids are not cheap.
Problems, but I have no idea how I'm going to get it. Not only does he need money, but breakups are hard to go through, especially after being with someone for 10 years. And sometimes when we break up with someone, we have a tendency to go back to our old ways. So what were Sam's old ways?
Prior to living in Vermont, I had lived in Rhode Island. And prior to living in Rhode Island, I lived in Massachusetts. So, like, you know, most people, they move, you know, from these states for whatever reasons, economic reasons, job opportunities, right? So I was in Massachusetts. I caught my first case. It was assault and battery with attempted murder.
Jeez, dude. I don't know the full story of what happened here. Partially because Sam never told the police everything either. Like, what I do know is that he was 17 at the time, and there were 2 other guys who were also part of this. Everyone ran, and Sam was the only one who got caught. Anyway, this landed Sam in jail. And while he was there, he was sent to the SHU a few times, solitary confinement. One for possessing a lighter because he's a smoker, and one for making a knife to defend himself in case another inmate attacked him. In this period of his life, he was a drug user, and when he got out of jail, he even got charges for possessing marijuana. And he got into some more serious drugs and moved out of Massachusetts to Rhode Island.
I've been in Rhode Island for a while, and like when I lived in Rhode Island, I sold. I mean, it's been way over the statute of limitations at this point, but I sold coke, powder cocaine and weed and stuff, and I moved up to Vermont because I was tired of doing that kind of stuff, because it's a rough life, it's no joke. So I moved up to Vermont. I got my high school diploma. From there, I continued on, and with my education, when I came up to Vermont, I couldn't turn a computer on. Like, if you were like, turn this computer on, I wouldn't be able to turn it on. I couldn't reformat one. I couldn't defrag a hard drive. I couldn't do anything. I didn't know anything about it. So I spent the next 10 years educating myself about computers and technology.
So Sam's old days was a lot of drug-related stuff, and even running from the law. Sam has learned a
Yes,
lot since
level 25.
Specifically, that there are now online drug marketplaces. Old Sam was about to catch up with new Sam. Silk Road, the leading darknet market, was raided and shut down by the feds in 2013. But this didn't make darknet marketplaces go away. No, Silk Road was replaced with like 4 other markets, and people just flocked to those. And when Sam was going through this breakup in 2017, a popular market at the time was Hansa, and Sam was particularly fascinated by this site. So he spent long nights reading through many listings and posts on there, trying to learn as much as he could about darknet marketplaces.
So I had hopped on their site, and I was on their site for a while, and I started making posts. Like, how I ended up establishing my name was just helping as many people as I could, and calling out the people that I knew were scammers. So, you had a ton of people, obviously, that are on that forum, or any darknet forums, that are trying to get people to conduct transactions with them outside of the escrow system. So, someone's like, I'm looking for this vendor. He had a pound of weed. Hypothetically, he had a pound of weed for $1,200. You'd see, some shark come in and be like, I have his weed and I bought it in bulk and I'll sell it to you for $600 a pound. And this guy is just a random person. You're never gonna get anything. He's there to rob you. He might even be a Fed, and he's just there to try to get your address. And he'll rob you too. But he'll get your address too. So I used to call those people out. If you said that to someone on the forum, you're like, I can beat his price, and you don't have that vendor star, or you can't prove that you're a legit vendor. You can't provide a signed PGP message saying you're vendor X, Y, and Z from this market. Then I'd be like, dude, you're a fucking fraud. You're trying to rip this dude off. They used to hate that. I made 5,000 posts in a month on Hansa, and that was how I established my name. Hansa came out with a policy where they were like, listen, you can't post on our forums unless you're a buyer or a vendor.
At this point, Sam was neither a buyer or seller.
So I was like, son of a bitch. So there was a big Carter. He was like, listen, man, I know you like being on the forums, you do a lot of good. He was like, if you, are you gonna buy something that way you can stay on the forums? And I was like, well, I understand, I understand Bitcoin, I understand all that, but I'm not completely sure yet that if I hop on local Bitcoins, that I can buy Bitcoins and have it be completely anonymous. And for me, that's a major risk. To me, it was it's not worth the cost of being able to post in the forums. So I was like, it's a bad hit. I'm not going to be able to post in the forums. And he was like, no, man, I'll send you some Bitcoin and just buy technically, that was my first purchase on the dark net, was a stolen credit card. So he had sent me the money for it. I had bought it off him as 2 happy times. And then once I bought it, I was now a buyer, so I could talk on the forums. So I'm like, yeah, I solved that problem. That's awesome. So I sent him his stolen credit card number back. I was like, here, man, I don't need this. I'm not gonna do anything with it. I'm good, So I was like, sweet, now, I can post on the forums though. So I kept posting on the forums, and then, you know, about a month or so later, it was like, I wanted to become a vendor. So I go to like become a vendor, and like he was like, hey, listen, man, like, you know, if you want to become a vendor, I'll front you that $200 to do it, because I know you don't want to go buy Bitcoin, and you're paranoid. You call me paranoid about it. I was like, yeah, all right, like that's awesome. Yeah, I appreciate you. You know, like sticking your neck out. Like it's $200, and he probably makes that in an hour, but I thought that was really cool.
Hansa required something like $200 be paid if you wanted to create a vendor account. And now that he had this, Sam was all set to start a new chapter in his life as a darknet market vendor. He didn't jump right into it though. He was very cautious about everything. For one, he knew a lot about OPSEC, or how to remain private online, from his knowledge of cybersecurity and computers. But then, having spent months reading thousands of posts on Hansa, really helped him get embedded into the darknet market culture. And this is a tough culture to pierce. There's little trust in some areas, and a lot of trust in others, which makes it feel like you're part of
a lot of trust in
criminal
others.
family at times. He had
Hello,
made friends,
adventurer.
connections,
If you'd like to learn a
started
thing
a
or two about
reputation
cooking,
without even
please
buying or
visit
selling
me
a single
anytime.
item. And he made some observations during that time. Number one, nobody uses their real name on the darknet. In fact, everyone is trying hard to hide from their real identity. Number two, you can assume everyone is a criminal or a federal agent. And three, the feds are actively looking to take down the criminals, and he would pay attention to all those methods on how the feds were catching people. So other people's missteps became his rules to live by. Do you remember what you sold for at first?
Yeah, so it was moonshine and cannabis.
But where were you getting the cannabis?
I was growing it. Yep. So I had imported seeds from the EU. I had gotten some Master Kush seeds, and I refined them. And I had studied botany for probably about 15 years. So I learned, like, I taught myself about like macronutrients, micronutrients.
I know all that too.
horticulture, Scrubs, like all this. All
But
this
only because
kind
of a
stuff,
friend. I wouldn't have.
aeration
I didn't go
and,
looking for it.
You know, nutrient deficiencies, health, you know,
Nudes and all that. Yep.
plants.
It's not hard.
So I had learned all this stuff, and I had wanted to cultivate cannabis for the longest time.
Yeah, how'd it go on Hansa? How was your first dip into the vendor pool?
Yeah, so I want to say on the first week I made about $300, and then the second week it was probably about $500. So like it was a slow start, but had I not spent that month making those posts, I would have had no sales.
His big idea was that he really wanted to be the manufacturer and seller. His theory was that this is how you can maximize your profits.
So I'm like, you know, if I'm the manufacturer and I'm the retailer, my ROI will be insane. So like with my moonshine, like I could spend $10 to $14 and I could turn that into $100 at a minimum. And like that, and then if I made apple pie brandy from that, multiply that by 5. And that was my return, was like, you know, $500.
Now Sam was trying to be business savvy too, trying to find ways to cut costs, like shipping supplies can easily start adding up.
So like, for me, one thing I came to find out was that USPS, on their website, you can order free supplies, right? So like if you want bubble wrap, like instead of buying bubble wrap from Amazon with your credit card, having it sent to your house, and going through a ton of it, you can order envelopes from USPS or pick them up in person, right? And now you don't have a credit card purchase, you know, for one less of your shipping supplies. And then I would order like generic catalogs that were really big, like Ranger, that had 500 to like 2,000 pages in them, and I would tear out the pages, crumple them up into a ball and throw them in there, and I would pack it. So like there's no packing peanuts, so now I don't have to buy that on Amazon. You know, like I would make sure that my expense, because you know, whatever you're sending out, that's one end that you can get popped. But like you buying supplies is just as dangerous, right?
Yeah.
So you have to factor in all those things, and like, you know, if you can factor those things in and make sure that they have no overhead, even better. You know, because now you're more profitable.
He also made a lot of very careful steps just to get onto the handset darknet market. Like when you get on social media, chances are you just turn on your phone or your computer and you're already logged into the site, just like where you were before. You don't want to do
Not on the dark
with
net.
marketplaces, because suppose you get caught by the cops and they take your computer and open it, and they can just see that you're logged in as a vendor on the site. That's some smoking evidence that they'd have on you. So Sam would try to hide his tracks so that it looked like he was never even on a darknet marketplace to begin with. For one, he would never use his home internet connection to do illegal things online. He lived up on a hill, and so he pointed his antenna down the hill towards the neighbor's house.
Like a
and was
cat
able to
dragged
figure
in
out a
from the
way to get
rain.
to their
You
house.
scratch
he
and
used
claw,
the
then
Tails
do it all
operating
over again.
system, which has some extra
We'll be back
security
for
features.
more.
But the thing about the Tails operating
I
system
didn't see
is
you
that
enter,
it gets
adventurer.
completely wiped
What can I do
every
for
time
you?
reboot or shut down, and has no memory of what you've done before. Which means every morning when Sam needed to log in and check his orders, he would have to reload Tails and re-enter his PGP key and his Bitcoin key and do all that in order to authenticate and do business on the site. But here's another problem. Having possession of those two private keys would prove to the feds that he's the vendor on the site. So he needed to protect those keys very well. And he stored them both on a little USB flash drive.
I would have my flash drive that I would always keep on me. And I kept it on me because first off, you have to, figure I'm a moonshiner, so there's 170 proof alcohol around me at all times. So, like, it's possible for me at any time to, take this flash drive out of my pocket, pour 170 proof alcohol on it and light it, and hopefully melt it to a point where it can't be recovered. But really, obviously, it's not a guarantee. It's not like I have thermite sitting around. Even though that was an idea of mine at one point.
Also, because he lived up on a hill, he could watch and see if anyone was coming for quite a ways away.
I would do regular perimeter checks, so probably 4 a day. I would walk around, I would look through almost every window in the house and just kind of look at what was going on outside. Was there a car parked down the street? And there were times where I saw a car parked down the street. Yeah, there's a ton of stuff. I wouldn't have a cell phone, and I wouldn't if you had a cell phone, you somehow knew me and I knew you well enough where I trusted you enough to come to my house. Your cell phone stays in the car.
Dang, things get really intense when you're a darknet market vendor. Friends aren't allowed to bring cell phones to your house, and you have to always have a plan in the back of your mind on how to burn the
Oh,
USB
poor
stick that you're
guy.
always carrying with you all the time. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but stay with us because despite all this planning and safety precautions, something goes seriously wrong. What about which carrier do you use?
Oh, for packages?
Yeah.
USPS only.
Why?
Because it's run by the federal government, which means they require a warrant to open it. If you ship DHL, UPS,
They'll open it.
FedEx, any of those are private companies, they can open your package at will. Whereas with USPS, they require a warrant, and they need reasonable suspicion with probable cause in order to apply for that search warrant and have a federal judge sign off on
He's right.
their ability to even open that.
He's very smart.
Okay, so for the government to open your package, they need reasonable suspicion and probable cause. So what's that? What does the government think a suspicious package looks like? Well, this is obviously something Sam wanted to know.
Making a package safe to ship was kind of difficult because they try to make it as generic as possible so that they can classify almost any package as suspicious. So, if you use quote-unquote too much tape, what's too much tape? Well, that's arbitrary. It's up to them. So, if you use too much tape, if you have a fake return address, if you have a handwritten address, if it's not an official USPS box, right? All of these, a fraudulent return address, a fake sender address, all of these things culminate to create a suspicious package, and then pairing them together makes it so you can add up these individual variables to, make it something where now you can say you have probable cause and plead that case to a federal judge and hopefully give him, he'll grant you a warrant to open it up.
Now, when you have all these packages that you need to ship out, it becomes a big task. You can't just hand them all to the mail carrier who's coming to your house. You need to somehow anonymously send them, without a way for them to be traced back to you. So like a public mailbox on the street corner might be good. You can just put the stamps on it and put it in there, but that's kind of hard to do when you've got a bottle of moonshine that you're trying to ship. But the thing is you just don't want to put all your letters in one mailbox either. We'll make one mailbox the one that you always use. And Sam was already really busy making moonshine, growing cannabis, and packaging everything up and dealing with the orders.
I don't have time to ship packages. So I had reached out to my cousin. So I contacted my cousin, who at the time lived in Rhode Island, and she worked at a dead-end job. And I said, hey, listen, like, I got a plan. You want to come up for a weekend? And I'll talk to you about it. And she drove up that weekend, and I told her, so I'm not going to talk about selling drugs on the internet over the phone, I told her about it, and I said, listen, like, how it'll be is, like, I will pay you a certain percentage, 5% of whatever I'm shipping out, 5% of that profit margin for that package is yours.
It shouldn't have involved your cousin.
Plus the standard fee, we'll do like $5 a
Your
package,
inventory is
plus
full.
the percentage, plus gas money, all the expenses, car payments, and we had a spare bedroom. So if she wanted, she could live there. So she had very well taken care of. Plus, like, unlimited alcohol, moonshine, weed, shrooms, ecstasy, acid, like basically whatever you want, you can take, So that was kind of the arrangement that I had. And then she would go, and I would, in the morning, I would wake up, I would check my orders, I would print out addresses on thermal labels, because thermal labels don't use microprinting, which means my IP address won't be on that label.
Okay, so I want to pause here and just do a little fact check. It's true that printers typically put some dots on every page they print. These are almost invisible, and these dots mainly go unnoticed by most people. And this is presumably to track the paper back to which printer printed it. But it's not exactly certain what information is encoded in those little dots. I don't think your IP address shows up in it, but it's more like a little signature of which printer it came from. And I think this is to help law enforcement trace counterfeit money to see if it came from the same origin. So while it's probably smart to not use a printer that does this, I'm not sure how effective this step was to actually hide his tracks.
For me, I bought a thermal printer, because with a thermal printer, it doesn't use ink, it uses thermal paper, and there's no micro printing with those. So in the morning, I would wake up, I would print out, like let's say I'm sending you, half a pound of weed. I print out your address, and on the back of it, I write half a pound of weed. I package up a half a pound of weed. I have it sealed up in my clean room. I have, my fake return addresses, slap it on there, and I slap destination address on that box, and I throw away the backside of the label, which says half a pound. It's like, one of the things my cousin was concerned about, she was like, if I'm sending out these packages, and like the FBI fingerprints them, they'll see my fingerprints. I was like, yeah, it's true. It's not false. It's true. And she was like, well, that's
too much.
An issue, right?
Yeah, that's an issue.
I was like, no, because at the end of the day, if you're at the post office and you touch a box, you still have plausible deniability, right? Now, if your fingerprints are inside one of those, the plastic that seals the drugs, or on the inside of the box, not so much. So, for me, I would seal the package because I'm working with it on the inside of it.
I would use
gloves,
seal it,
and I would have
gloves.
2 or 3 pairs of latex gloves on.
Yeah.
I bleach the area that I did it in on a regular basis to make sure there's no, DNA. There's a ridiculous amount of stuff that kind of goes into this, and then actually packaging it up. So, let's say I'm packaging up just an ounce of weed.
Actually packaging it up. Like an asshole.
I'm taking a sandwich bag. I'm putting, the cannabis in there. I'm sealing it up, getting the air out as best I can. and then I'm taking that and I'm wiping it down with rubbing alcohol with a new pair of gloves. I would stick it inside a vacuum seal bag. I would vacuum seal that bag, and then I would dip that whole bag in a solution of rubbing alcohol.
And burn
let it dry off. Then I would seal it in another bag, and then the last bag that I would seal it in would be.
That's always what I would have done too. Yeah, I was like,
and the
15
visual barrier
bags.
is just it's a vacuum seal bag. It's a solid color, so you can't see through it. So I would vacuum seal this last bag, and off my thermal printer, I would print off a label that says organic dried fruit, and I would slap it on that visual barrier. Now, if I hand this to you, you look at it and you squeeze it, it feels like dried fruit, but you can't see it because the visual barrier. So if law enforcement or a postal employee was curious about what was in a box and stepped on the box to look inside of it, like, oh, it was an accident. We stepped on the box by accident. You can step on this box all day, and that visual barrier is not gonna. There's a visual barrier, so you could literally open the box, and what you're seeing is just this thing that says organic dried fruit. You have to open this box and cut through this, 2 mil thick plastic in order to get the other plastic out, and even then, it's still so opaque that you can't see what it actually is. So you have to go through all these layers to see what it actually is. Now, the reason I would do that is because you have a thing called permeation. So I can take a pound of weed, I can put it in a bag, I can stick it in a PVC pipe, and I can stick it in a block of concrete, stick that block of concrete in a gas tank, and if I leave it there for long enough, a drug-sniffing dog will smell that smell of that cannabis through the metal of the gas tank, the gas in the tank, the concrete, the PVC pipe.
What?
And the plastic bag, because it permeates out, right? 'Cause nothing in this world is actually solid. It's all held together by atoms, but nothing is technically solid, right? Even the inside of an atom is, comprised of basically nothing, right? But empty space. So permeation goes through everything and anything.
Yeah.
Some substances it takes longer. Now, mind you, I don't have to put it in concrete or steel or any of this crazy stuff that you see, like
Breaking Bad or
do that are shipping, large quantities, because at the end of the day, I use 2 to 3 day shipping, and it's sealed in 4 layers, so it doesn't have time to permeate those bags in order for a dog to be able to smell it. And I can assure you, there's no microscopic residue on the outside of it because I've changed my gloves and I've killed whatever it is with rubbing alcohol and completely cleaned it multiple times on that same package.
Okay, there's one more precaution to take around the shipping labels.
So every 3 packages would have a different return address, because one of the alerts for law enforcement is a fraudulent return address. So I had to find a database of legitimate return addresses, and
This was always where I stopped.
Guy, right? Like you're not
I'm like, yeah, the addresses are where you always get caught.
You
Yep.
don't break the law.
You get
you're
caught.
Not, you're not evil that I know.
For this one, you need like your blind aunt's. Your blind aunt needs you to check her mail every day. It'd have to be something like that, where you control you control the home, you control the address, you control the shipping, you control the receiving. Your aunt owns the house. She lives there. If the feds knock, they get her. So this is one of the reasons why cartels do pretty well. They always have their abuelita, They made fun of this in what's it called? Better Call Saul, where God damn it, what's his name? His grandmother, Nacho's grandmother, or not Nacho, I forget the name. But anyways, that was a good storyline, I thought, because that's kind of how that is. So yeah, family often has something to do with it, and then eventually, I think your family's just in on it. And that's another way that you get caught. If you cross them, if you don't show up to their birthday or their Christmas because you're busy being a fucking drug dealer or whatever, and they're like, fuck this guy, he just obviously doesn't care about the family at all anyways, and now he's cut me out or he's not paying me enough or something. And they'll just turn and burn you. Your own family. They don't care. One of the things my mother did and still does is in order for her to trust me, she had to like get control of my emails. And she monitors my emails on a daily basis. This is not because I was committing crime on them. It was because I was just using my emails for sex, for drugs, for connections, for all types of things. And she could see it. She could tell that I was sort of a criminal in a way. It was mainly because I was just a drug addict, you know. But so, and she still has access to my emails because she needs to know that I'm not doing weird dark business in the background, such as the dark web, because she always suspected me. Well, she didn't suspect me. I was a criminal for a lot, you know, not a bad one, just, you know, but I was a criminal in some of my life. And so in the back of her mind, she's always suspicious of me, so she's checking my emails and stuff like that. So like my problem is like, yeah, it would be fairly easy to be a digital criminal, especially like, you know. So I think about this all the time. I'm like, there's this point where there's this end point in my life where eventually all roads lead back to the farm, which to me that means like there's no family left. There's no kids. There's no like legacy. There's no one waiting. There's no family. There's no. And this to me, I need my Steam character like this one time, because I'm like, most people, they can't relate to me, and they think they can. They think they can just nail me down to some kind of like fucking thing, like, oh, that's the Rust player, or oh, that's the fat guy, or that's the drug addict, or the criminal, or whatever the fuck. But I've had so many titles in my lifetime, it doesn't mean anything to me, any of that. What it does mean is it's like there's this point where I lost everything and everybody, and eventually when I lose my family, I'm the only one left. And at that point, I will begin to attempt to cushion my elderly life where I don't starve or whatever. And I was like, well, digital crime is one of the ways I could do that. But where it ends for me is you can't get an address in the modern age that isn't monitored by the fucking pigs and the feds. You can't actually do it. And this is why, and I looked at it hard for many years. My friends and I looked at it for hard. We were like, oh my God, the promised land is some kind of address. But the problem is, you can get it too. You can go ignore it. You can go to a hotel and have them send shit to the hotel. There's ways around it and stuff. But the problem is, it's still a paper connection directly to you. It's still a paper connection. If they're good at their jobs, they'll get you. And this is where every smart criminal stops. And these kids, they don't stop, and then they see jail. They see jail. And I was like, that's fucking stupid. The whole point of all that goddamn money. And my friends all knew this. They knew I would never do anything. My friend A, she trusted me implicitly, and her friends hated me. Well, like, not all of her friends hated me. Some of her friends fucked me. Some of her friends loved me. Some of her friends really liked me. So, but anyways, it's kind of funny. A was the most popular girl in Denver, I'd say. And she was my best friend for like, I don't know, 3 years or something. And her family felt like they owed me her a debt, and because I like kind of got her out of some stuff one time as a taxi driver, and I also just drove her around to all her drug deals, which everybody was so just like, I didn't ask her for money. I was just her friend. I knew that being her friend was going to take me places, and it did. And I was like, I like you, and I want you in my cab. I don't care. Put your butt in the seat. I used to tell her, like, put your butt in the fucking seat. I don't care. I like you. Like, I'll talk to you. I don't care. What do you got on your mind? I'll never talk. That kind of thing. And you'd be surprised how where friendship can really take you. And by the end of it, where we quit, we quit. We had a personal driver. We were going all over the place. I didn't want to drive. I was holding, and so was she, but in ways where if we had been pulled over, it would have been on the Uber driver, and we're just passengers. right? And we had a masquerade for all of this, including 2 fake identities and all these other things, like trying to, like, we had a masquerade doing this. We were like full-blown criminals doing this. I'm not proud of this, but I did it. And like this, you know, there was this point where I was willing to pay somebody $80 an hour because I could still come out on top. I was willing to pay somebody $80 an hour to watch over me and make sure I didn't fall asleep or forget something or forget somebody, and make sure they drove. And that's what she needed because we were exhausted. We worked all day long. We had the magic phones, and for a long time, like it was good. And then there was this point where we were desperate, so desperate to not be the one driving, to not be the one connected to it, to never make a connection. After a while, she used to piss me off because she'd get out of my car and she'd forget, but she would hide. She was so paranoid that she trusted me, but she still never left a connection. So even when she did drug deals just for me, like for personal, she would leave it in my car in some place and she wouldn't tell me where it was until like 25 minutes later. She'd call me up and she'd be like, "Yep, left side, blah blah," and I'd be like, "Oh, okay." Cause it was this pressure. She wanted me to call her. She wanted me to harass her. She wanted me to treat her bad or be her enemy or something like this, like everybody else did. And I just wasn't into it. I wasn't into sweating anybody around me. I just wasn't into it. I was trying to do the low profile thing. And so I'd just wait. And sure enough, the call would come and she'd be like, "Yep, check under blah blah." And she was very wise in the way she did things. And you never could have drawn. I didn't know where it was. So if the cops had asked me, "Why did you let me search and stuff?" and I'd be like, "I didn't know it was there." And they like, you would take I could go to court saying, "I did not know there was drugs in my car. I'm an Uber driver. This was why she did this." Like, and I did tricks like this too. I literally could have gone to court and passed a fucking, I literally could have passed the truth. What do they call those? A lie detector test. I could have passed a lie detector test on the fact that I didn't know where the dope was. And that was something fundamentally crucial for us, kind of. And we did business like that, where we were like, yeah, so you have to understand, I'm not going to tell you where this is for a few minutes. I come in, I get out, and I go. You don't tell them this. They're just like, "Okay, I'm getting out," and they're like, "Oh, okay, well, like, where's the stuff? You'll find it. Don't worry." And then tell them to drive away, right? And it's in a sketch, and they're a sketch, and they don't like this, but it's also like this less connection to you. It's less connection to everything. It's smarter. And we learn to play, and the people after the first time, they come to expect it, and they notice that we never do anything shady. She and I never did anything shady. We never, if people came back, we had such an open policy, they could come back with the sack, and we just like fucking fork out the money again if they weren't happy. We were not illegitimate people. We did not burn people. At no point did she ever deal with anybody that like ever was unhappy with her, and me neither. People loved me to death because they just knew every time I would either tell them no or it was yes, and it was exactly what it would be. It was down to the cent every single time, and I just and there was a value to it where, like, at no point could you be like directly in correlation with something. And there was this point where we had to stop because I was looking at like forming like a prostitution/drug dealer ring between the West and the Midwest, and she was looking to be my connection in Denver and stuff. And I realized I was becoming this like cliche, like that movie Blow or something, right before they go to jail for like 10 years. And I realized she was too. And part of it was because of her father. I don't want to get into any more than this, but you'll never know who she is. Nobody will ever know who she is, so I can like safely say it. Her father kind of fucked her over. And in a way, it affected me too. Because he was on the streets before her. He was the kingpin or whatever. And he was on the streets before her. And she took over. And she, like, Jesus fucking Christ, like, they had drama. And I'd never met the man, but Jesus fucking Christ, like, he scared of all the people I've ever even heard of, that man scared the shit out of me just hearing about him, things she would tell me about him. And like, and that was like kind of the thing. And she was like, "Yeah, he's in jail now for a long time, but like, I live in the shadow." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know." Her mom would talk about it. Very interesting people. And the only reason I bring it up is like, there was this point where when you can't get what you need. Like I couldn't get a physical address for it, but we had, okay, one of the interesting things that happened to her was people would offer her stuff all the time in lieu of dope or money, and she would take it because she wouldn't piss them off, and they would offer something, and they'd be like, and if she couldn't do it, she'd say it, but if she could, she would take the offer, whatever it was, usually if it was worth it, because she knew so many people that she could move all of it. And that was another skill of my job, was sussing out good deals around the cruise. And it's an interesting thing. It's not being like a fence. Fence, I think, would be a direct like vendor and stuff. You're just somebody who sees opportunities and lights up to other opportunities. And you honestly don't usually get anything, but then you can ask the person for a favor, like a deal on something or another. And this was something else that was very vastly different about our jobs than whatever this guy's doing. And there's this point where, like, trust me, he's either got to send out, this was something we weren't willing to do. He's got to send out something. He's got to receive something. He's got to pay cash that he can't explain for. And one of the things, like, that we prided ourselves on, and I passed the statute just like him so I can talk about it. I had a full-time job the entire time I was in that. Full-time job. I'm talking full-time, 60-hour weeks, whether I like to work or not. Whether I was being dirty or doing something wrong or not. Like, I worked 60-hour weeks. It was still, and if anybody had asked me where I got my money from, they could see that I was working 60-hour weeks. You know, I was. And my difference is their days always end at like 10 p.m. Mine goes on till 5 in the morning, and then I meet my night crowd or whatever at like 11, and I'm the night driver. And you know, I meet my night crowd at like 11 of like strippers and drug dealers and people. And we party till 5 in the morning, and I drive people all over the fucking city for money. You know what I'm saying? That's what my job was, and it was a legal job, and I loved my job, and I was good at my job, and I did it for like 13 fucking years, and I drew connections, and I was very good at what I did. And that was the difference. This guy, he went to jail. We never saw a day. I never saw a day in federal jail. They came after me so many times. I never saw a fucking day. I never saw a felony that stuck. I never saw a day in fucking jail. And the difference is, there's this point where, and she taught me this very well, not just her, but other couple of people who are actually really good at what they do, you know, taught me like something else, which was like that, you know, in that reality, if you are at any point making some kind of